Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends. Welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. So, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty has been revealed, and as you can imagine, the previews are having an impact on some card prices this week, and there's some other things happening in the market too. We're going to go over all of it. As it has been lately, we're going to continue with the $2 threshold, so all the cards we're going to talk about today are moving at least $2 up or down. Quickly before we get into the details though, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pre-order Kamigawa Neon Dynasty products there. They have the products on the screen as well as the Commander decks. Those decks, though, are on another page, so I'll leave 2 links below so you can find what you're looking for. And even beyond the Kamigawa products, they have a whole lot of other things there. Remember, if your order's over $100 or it consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. Also, whenever you use that promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated, so thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. Well, Standard is pretty quiet right now because people are waiting to see how Kamigawa is going to affect the format, as well as those bannings that occurred not too long ago. So today, we're going to begin with the Pioneer Legal Spotlight. This is where we look at the Pioneer legal cards that are moving the most this week. First, we have one going down in value. It is Grim Tutor from Starter 1999. It goes down $6.60 this week to $87.29. And this did have a bounce back week about 2 weeks ago. Now it is trending down again. It has been reprinted again recently in the Mischief Secret Lair. It does get a good amount of Commander play, though, in a lot of different decks. First card going up is Sanctum of All. This is up $2.62 this week to $3.50. Currently, this is in Sisei Weatherlight Captain Shrine builds in Commander and a few other decks, too. However, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty previews are what's pushing this now. We saw Legendary Enchantment Creature Shrines. The first 5 are uncommon. Then we have a set booster Mythic, Goshen Tai of Life's Origin. And that happens to be a Legendary Enchantment Creature Shrine with 5 color identity. I know a lot of players are already thinking about perhaps building a Shrine Commander deck around that card. And the last card in this section is Days Undoing. That Magic Origins copy still going up. It is up $2.27 this week to $10.97. The copy from the list, it didn't take off very quickly, but when it took off, boy did it. It's up $16.32 to $19.99 this week. So you do have to remember there's not a lot of copies of that particular version in circulation. It just joined the list with Crimson Vow. It is staying there through Kamigawa, though, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. So what's the deal with this card? Well, in Legacy, Ragavan Nimble Pilfer was recently banned, and that has shaken up the meta. There is a Jeskai Days Undoing control deck that was featured on ChannelFireball.com last week. Some players are trying it out. It did get 3rd place in an MTGO Legacy Challenge this week, and it's also gone 5-0 in some leagues. Additionally, this does get a little Commander play, sometimes in Nakusar the Mindraiser and some other builds. And that takes us to the Modern Legal Spotlight. We have some cards going down in value and then some cards going up in value. First, we have Sword of Fire and Ice from Modern Masters. It goes down $2.01 this week to $55.98. Now, this does not see as much play as it once did, but it is still in Modern Death and Taxes and a few other decks at times in the format. It also gets a lot of Commander play in various builds. Higuri the Still Wind. The Plane Chase Anthology copy is down $2.01 this week to $21.79. The Betrayers of Kamigawa copy is down $2.04 to $21.66. Currently, this does see Commander play in Yuriko the Tiger Shadow builds and a few others. The real story here, though, is this, along with some other ninjas, did spike when Wizards announced that ninjas would play a key role in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. As previews went on, though, the hype died down, and some of the key ninjas did retract some, like this one. There is one exception to that statement, which you'll see in a few moments. Now, cards like this that have stabilized down could climb again once the set is released. Remember when Savage Beating was like climbing every week? Well, this week it goes down $2.21 to $34.99. This card spiked aggressively not too long ago as players were picking it up to put in their Tovolar Dire Overlord / Tovolar the Midnight Scourge Commander decks. It is found in a number of other decks too, but currently it is cooling off. Wooded Foothills, the original copy from Onslaught, goes down $2.99 this week to $91.87. These original Onslaught fetch lands got pretty hot over the course of last year. Now you are seeing some retraction out of a few of them. Fetch lands are always going to be highly played cards, though. This is in multiple decks in Modern Legacy as well as Commander. And here's another one, Polluted Delta. Again, the Onslaught original copy. It's down 364 to 9536. In addition to this getting a lot of play in Modern, Legacy, and Commander, this also gets some Vintage play. Alright, first card going up in this section is Stoneforge Mystic, the Double Masters copy. It's up 252 to 4850. In Modern, this is in Hammer Time, very popular deck. It's in Death and Taxes and more. Legacy, remember Ragavan was banned, so that meta is shaking up a little bit. This is in Death and Taxes, which is doing better now. Also in Jeskai Stoneblade. Additionally, this is in a number of different Commander decks too. But beyond all of that, this may become a better card with the release of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Let's look at some preview cards that could be pushing this. The first 6 cards are the rare and mythic equipment creatures. These kind of cards add some diversity to what Stoneforge can search for. The next 3 cards are rare and mythic as well, but they refer to the modify mechanic. A creature is modified if it's equipped, has an aura, or counters. Again, this leads to equipment maybe playing a bigger role in the future. And that last card also refers to the modify mechanic, but it is the front-facing commander for the Upgrades Unleashed commander deck. Now, Stoneforge doesn't share color identity with this, so it can't be an upgrade there, but I am curious to see what other cards are going to be in that deck, which could play well with Stoneforge Mystic. Monday, they're going to reveal the deck list for the commander decks. Alright, here's the exception to the ninja rule I mentioned a moment ago. This is Inkai, Servant of Oni. The copy from Planechase Anthology is going up $253 this week to $29.99. It is important to note, too, that this is being added to the list with Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Now, it is one ninja moving up in value this week. It's also a rat, though. Currently, this is sometimes seen as a commander, but more often it's in the 99 of a build. The more popular ones are Yuriko the Tiger Shadow, Maronar. Ultimately, though, you know this is hot because of those previews that have been happening. Let's look at some preview cards that support ninjas and or rats. In this slide, I'm just sticking with the rares and mythics, and as always with these preview cards, I am going kind of quickly through them. So again, always feel free to pause the video if you want to take a closer look. One thing to note here, though, some of these are legendary creatures for new commander builds, and one is even a legendary rat ninja. Cloudstone Curio from Ravnica City of Guilds. It goes up $266 this week to $54.98. This is a solid commander card and combo enabler in a lot of different decks in the format. Now players are thinking about new combos they can use with cards from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. One example that got circulated quite a bit on social media this week involves this card, Slitherblade, Medomai the Ageless, and Satoru Umezawa, who was on that ninja slide we looked at a moment ago. Long story short, with those cards you can create an endless turn loop. With that type of information circulating out there, obviously a lot of people decided to pick this card up this week. Relentless Assault. Now this is the copy from Portal 2nd Age, and because this card is hard to find online in high grade nowadays, you do tend to see these big spikes and then dips. This week it's going up $285 to $1643. The general interest in this is due to Commander. This is another card that got a little bit hot when players were building Tovolar builds in the format. Blood Moon. Now this is the original copy from the Dark. It goes up $513 this week to $106.88. And in general, we have seen a lot of cards from the Dark getting hot, especially reserve list cards. But in this case, because Blood Moon sees so much play, there are a number of collectors out there that want to get a copy, maybe even get it graded if they can find it at high grade. Now it is worth noting that this was added to the list with Crimson Vow. It's still going to be there for Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Also, it's another card that's getting a reprint in the Mischief Secret Lair. But again, this original copy doesn't care about all of that. In Modern, this is in a lot of builds right now. Murktide Regent, Crashing Footfalls, and much more. Legacy, it's in Jeskai Control and more there too. It also gets Commander play in a number of decks, including Krenko Mob Boss. Ren and 6, that Modern Horizons copy, up $646 this week to $109.05. It continues to climb. And this was part of the list for 2 sets, Zendikar Rising and Keldheim. Now, a number of months ago, Wizards announced Double Masters 2022, and they did show art from this card, so there is a reprint incoming. But players that need this for modern decks especially, they might not be able to wait until that set drops. They might have to bite the bullet and still pick up this card at a very high price point. With that being said, this is in Modern, 4-color Blank, Jund, 4-color Omnith, and much more. It is banned in Legacy, but you do find this in Vintage Teamer Control and 4-color Tempo. This does get some Commander play too, and Omnith Locus of Creation and more. But again, I do think Kamigawa Neon Dynasty may be impacting this as well. There are a fair number of cards that interact with lands as well as the graveyard, but let's look at one cycle in particular that I think is interesting with this card. And that's these channel lands, which you could get more value out of with Ren and 6. Last card in this section is a big mover, Artificer's Intuition, up $40.96 to $43.50. Is this for real? Well, here's the deal with this card. It traditionally has only seen a tad bit of Commander play. Because of that, you never really see a lot of copies of this for sale online at any given time. Well, Neon Dynasty previews come along, and a card is previewed that would play well with this and some other cards to create a combo, and guess what happened? The copies online disappeared in a blink of an eye. People saw the spike in the interest. They started to put copies up at a very high price to stay ahead of the spike. And right now we are seeing some inflation, which probably is not realistic. So I do think quickly new copies are going to continue to pour into the marketplace, and the price will probably stabilize down sooner than later. But I don't think it's going back down to where it was for sure. So what am I talking about? Well, here's the card that was the catalyst. It is Containment Construct. So basically, this was due to another combo circulating on social media. You can create an infinite mana loop with blue mana with this, Artificer's Intuition, Lion's Eye Diamond, and Elixir of Immortality. Then you just need to close out the game with any number of win conditions. Now, due to the fact that Lion's Eye Diamond is a very expensive card, I don't see a ton of people actively trying to put together this combo. I do think in some ways this is more of a speculation pickup, just in case that combo started to take off in one of the formats. Regardless though, this will be a fun one to watch in the coming weeks. And that takes us to the Vintage Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that see play in Legacy, Vintage, 93, 94, or cards that are just popular among collectors. Now in this section of the video, the prices you see on the screen are going to be very reminiscent of what you might see on a price tracking website. That's because there's not a lot of sales for a lot of these cards at any given week, and we do have to rely a little stronger on what the asking price is compared to other sections in this video. Also to remember, when you look at those price tracking websites, the price you see for a lot of the older cards, the more iconic ones, will typically fall somewhere between a high-grade raw and a high-grade graded copy. So just keep that in mind. That will be true in this section as well. However, if true sales don't line up with the price on the screen, I'll point that out. First, we have a card that is banned in Commander, so you can't blame that format. It is Recurring Nightmare. It goes up $2.15 this week to $57.92. Grim Monolith, this is up $2.95 to $317. This is in Legacy Colorless Cloudpost. It is also another solid Commander card and combo enabler in various decks. Phyrexian Dreadnought from Mirage, this is up $3.14 to $108.97. You'll find this one in Legacy Stiflenaught, of course. It also gets Commander play, sometimes in Selvala Heart of the Wilds builds, for example. Serra Sanctum up $5.56 to $3.09. Now this one is in Legacy Enchantress. It is also found in enchantment-heavy commander decks like Sithis Harvest Hand at times. As you know, enchantments do play a significant role in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. We talked about those shrines already in Modify, but there is more. Here's the first page of Rare and Mythic Sagas that transform into enchantment creatures. On the top you see the front of the card, on the bottom you see the back. Here's page 2 consisting of a couple more green cards and some multicolor cards. And I have even more examples of enchantment support, as you can see here, and they can come in the form of enchantment creatures or creatures with abilities that interact with enchantments, or in this case at the top left corner, a sorcery that lets you return artifacts and enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Again, on this page I focused on the rares, but there's a lot of other things in the set as well that we're not looking at today. The one card in particular that's most interesting to me though is that last one, Setsuki the Living Lore. I could see a lot of players wanting to build some Saga Commander decks around that card in the future. Gaia's Cradle from Urza's Saga, once again going above $1,000. It's up $604 to $1,564. So not a huge percentage increase here, but of course this is a huge card. It's in Legacy Elves as well as Maverick. Vintage, you'll find this in Squee Hollowvine. Also a great Commander card in a lot of builds like Chatterfang Squirrel General, for example. If you're lucky enough to own one, that is. Meltdown, this is up $638 this week to $13.99. That's a pretty big move. And it has become a big Legacy sideboard card right now. It's good against Statecast. In general, it's good against Urza Saga. It also gets a little Commander play, and it is an older card that's yet to be reprinted. Very difficult to find in high grade online right now. Magical Hack from Unlimited. In fact, all the white border cards in this section today are from Unlimited, so I won't keep saying that. Just know when you see a white border card, it's from that set. This is going up $10 to $89.99. Mahamadi Jinn, this is up $10.27 to $85.99. It's a Tetravus for the rest of us. The one from Antiquities that goes up $15.60 this week to $69.99. Or maybe the 4th edition copy would be the one for the rest of us. Mana Short is up $16.93 this week to $70.01. Pirate Ship is up $17.53 to $110. It's Stang! This is the Legends copy up $19.71 to $80. Sorceress Queen, the Arabian Nights copy up $21.08 to $220.70. Cockatrice up $22.31 to $155.68. Chromium from Legends up $23.78 to $139.98. Rock Hydra up $36.32 to $125. Hezazan Tamar is up $39.99 to $389.99. Stasis jumps $52.43 to $349.74. Word of Command up $91.50 to $541.49. And finally, for this section, Old Man of the Sea, this is up in theory $117.79 to $424.99. However, when you look at true sales, I have seen high-grade raw copies sell for close to $650, and high-grade graded copies can go for a lot more. And that takes us to the Commander Spotlight. Now, all the cards in this section are moving, at least in part because of Commander, but that might not be the only reason, or in some cases the main reason. So I'll let you know as we go through. First, we have the revised copy of Copy Artifact. It goes up $202 this week to $89.97. This is a solid enchantment in a number of Commander builds. And besides enchantment support, there is some artifact support in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty too. Here are a bunch of examples of Mythic and Rare. There's a number of vehicles, and speaking of which, the other Commander deck is called Buckle Up. And here's the front-facing Commander for that deck, Kotori Pilot Prodigy. Maybe Copy Artifact will be a decent upgrade there. At least you know it's not going to be reprinted in the deck. Or maybe some players might want it for a fresh build around this card. Memory Jar from Urza's Legacy is up $216 to $61.34. This is in some Commander builds like Turgid God of Fright / Turgid's Lantern. It is a good way to get some cards in your opponent's graveyard. And there are some Kamigawa Neon Dynasty cards that might appreciate that. Here's a Mythic and a Rare to look at quickly. Junji the Midnight Sky. That's in the main set. Myojin of Grim Betrayal, however, is part of a set booster cycle. We're going to see the rest of that cycle in a few moments. Atraxa Praetor's Voice. We haven't seen this on the Market Watch in a while, but the Double Masters copy is up $219 to $30.68 this week. The Commander Anthology Volume 2 copy, which only comes in foil, is up $236 to $35.78. Okay, you know this is a huge Commander in that format. Also part of the 99 in some builds too. But you guessed it, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty previews are moving this as well. We talked about Modify earlier. We also saw a number of other cards that could play well with this from the set. Well, here's some more. These are Mythics and Rares again that I pulled, and there's a variety of different things going on here. For example, Tamiyo Completed Sage doesn't do anything really directly with Atraxa, other than the fact that it is a Planeswalker and uses loyalty counters. The other cards, though, on the screen could have some more interesting interactions. And that bottom row is the rest of the set booster Myojin cycle. Exorcist is back again, up $241 this week to $45. And over the last couple weeks, we have been discussing how some of these cards from the dark, especially reserve list cards, have been hot. This was the target of a buyout, still trying to find its new, at least short-term price point. When it comes to gameplay, doesn't really see a whole lot of play to speak of, but it could play well with Junji the Midnight Sky, which we saw a little earlier, I suppose. Scorched Ruins is up $246 this week to $44.99. This does get a little Commander play in a variety of different builds, but it is also on the reserve list, which might be the main reason it's moving like it is this week. Doubling Season from Double Masters is up $250 this week to $79.64. Currently, this is a huge Commander card in a wide variety of decks, including Atraxa Praetor's Voice. This, of course, is moving because of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty previews again. We've seen so many cards that utilize counters or call out the modify mechanic. This might be a good upgrade to the Upgrades Unleashed Commander deck as well. There's also some instances of token creation in the set. We did see some examples of that throughout the video today. But regardless of all that, let's look at 3 more cards from the set we haven't seen yet that could play well with this. I give you 2 more Rares and a Mythic. Femaref Enchantress up $283 this week to $19.99. This does get a little Commander play in enchantment-heavy builds at times. Again, I'll use Sithis Harvest Hand as the example. But you guessed it, the reason this is moving now ties into those previews we've seen from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. There's so much enchantment focus like we discussed earlier in the video. And considering this is a reserve list card, it doesn't take all that much interest to make it move. Tower of the Magistrate. This is up $3.20 to $8.99. This has always seen a little Commander play, but now this is starting to show up in some Legacy sideboards as well. We'll have to see if that catches on. It is also an older card that is yet to be reprinted, I have noticed that many of those have been heating up recently, especially since reserve list cards are getting more and more expensive. Purgatory up 355 to 852. This does not see any play to speak of, but it is a reserve list card. Plus, it is an enchantment that plays well with creatures that have death triggers, and we have seen some creatures today from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty that have decent death triggers. So maybe this speculation is tied into that to some degree, maybe not. But since we're talking about death triggers, why not look at the Spirit Dragon that has a death trigger that we haven't seen yet? Here's Kyrie, the Swirling Sky. Bogardan Phoenix. This is up 547 to 949. Now, again, this doesn't see much play to speak of. Looks like this is potentially another buyout. Many of the reserve list cards that have been targeted lately have been some of the cheaper ones. And finally, for this section, we have another reserve list card from the dark. It is City of Shadows. It goes up $6.99 this week to $106.99. This does get a little commander play, but it was the target of a pretty public buyout. Also, Alpha Investments did a video this week talking about the price trends with this card over the last few months, and that may have brought some more attention to it. And that takes us to the Premium Spotlight. Today I chose 3 cards to discuss. One of those cards was not seen earlier in the video either. Now, much like the Vintage section, the prices you see on the screen are going to be very reminiscent of what you might see on a price tracking website. Again, that's just because these cards don't see a lot of sales in any given week. But if the sold prices are not lining up with what I'm seeing on the screen, I will let you know. Here's the Mercadian Masked foil copy of Tower of the Magistrate. It goes up $10.32 this week to $179.99. Okay, is that for real? Well, high-grade raw copies are selling for about $95. I have not seen any high-grade graded copies sell. Maybe if one did, it could get to this price point, but it isn't typically the type of card that a lot of people in the past anyway have gotten graded. Kusarigama, this is the foil copy from Champions of Kamigawa. It is up $27.46 this week to $76.97. Now, this was not featured in this week's video. It was on last week, however, so let me fill you in on a few details about the card. First off, when it comes to sales, high-grade raw copies are selling for about $28 more this week than they were last week. That's true, but that price is usually falling around the $48 mark, not $76.97. However, a 9.5 graded copy of this did sell last week for $80. And again, I do think that's kind of a fluke because I don't know a lot of people that went out and got this card graded. That might change now, but at least in the past, you didn't see that. Now, when it comes to gameplay, it does see some commander play in a few different builds, including Zergo Helm Smasher. This is especially good if you can equip it on an indestructible creature, and it does look like it could be getting better with Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. We've already talked about the Modify mechanic and the Upgrades Unleashed commander deck. This could be a good upgrade there, or good in a fresh build around Shishiro the Shattered Blade, which we saw a little while ago. Let's look at one more card that we haven't seen yet that may play well with this. It is Kyodai, Soul of Kamigawa. This does grant something indestructible. And finally, we have Artificer's Intuition. The foil copy from Fifth Dawn goes up $70.33 to $84.69. Is that for real? Right now, high-grade raw copies are selling for about $16. And I haven't seen any graded copies sell, which is not surprising. You do have to remember, though, the non-foil copy is spiking very aggressively, so my expectation would be future sales are going to be higher than $16, probably quite a bit higher, maybe not $84.69 though. This is most likely a case where sellers are trying to stay ahead of the spike by pricing the card higher than it really should be, but it doesn't mean they wouldn't accept a fair offer. It does throw the data off a little bit, though. Alright, that does it for a pretty interesting week of the Market Watch. A lot of different things happening in the market, as you can see, sparked by Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. I'm going to be very interested to see what happens within the coming weeks, especially when the set is released. And there's a lot of products coming out this year, so this is going to be quite a ride, I think. Hey, until next time, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.